So here we're looking at the manufacturer suggested jack-up points. This is the manufacturer suggested oil viscosity. You're looking at Mitsubishi Genuine 0W20, but if you're not using Mitsubishi Genuine 0W20 synthetic, then you want to be using a 5W20. I'm using a full synthetic, but I don't think it's required. This is the synthetic oil filter that I got to go along with the oil. If you look down there, you can see the oil filter above that weird little lip thing. Then underneath the car, you can see the oil filter from below. You see the fan, and then as we go back, you'll be able to see the oil filter. I mean, not the oil filter, but the oil pan drain bolt. Right there. I'm just trying to give a better idea of where it is from the front of the car. It is underneath the passenger side. This is my adjustable oil filter wrench. It is a small oil filter adjustable wrench. And this is just, I'm just setting it on the oil filter. You see that there's an actual cut inside that piece of plastic that allows you to reach up into it fairly easily, which is nice. Here I am putting a 17 millimeter socket onto the drain bolt and using a standard size socket wrench to loosen it. You see that I had a little bit of a struggle there. Brand new bolts when being unloosened, brand new drain bolts when being unloosened for the first time can give a little bit of a fight, but after the initial snap, it comes off fairly easily. And you can unloose after that initial snap. You can use your finger to untighten it. Yeah, using gloves is probably recommended. In all honesty, here you can see that I'm letting it stop. I'm letting it drain to a drip, and then to near nothing. And then at this point, after removing the drain bolt, you want to go up and remove your oil filter. You can see right up in there the oil filter wrench is positioned on the oil filter. I couldn't really get a good camera angle of actually using the oil filter wrench, but essentially all you do is you put it up onto the oil filter, and you put the wrench into the backside of the oil filter, and just basically twist it to the left. Lefty loosey, righty tighty, essentially. And then here I'm putting the drain bolt back on. Well, I'm hand tightening it, and then you want to tighten it down a little bit better with the actual socket wrench. Now you don't want to tighten it too much, because if you do, you can round it off. So only just enough. Don't put too much pressure on it. Just enough to make sure it gets a good seal. And I'm just cleaning it up. Any excess oil left in the engine will burn off, which is perfectly fine, but it'll produce a somewhat of a noxious smell. You also want to make sure that you'll use some of the fresh oil and coat the O-ring on your brand new oil filter so that it gets a better seal. I like to try to put some oil in it so that once you start up the car, excessive amounts of oil aren't being pulled from the oil pan into the oil filter. Then here's me putting it back on. You do not need to use any type of tool to tighten it. It's best to hand tighten, because you really don't want to tighten this part too hard. Otherwise, you can end up rounding off the oil filter the oil filter threads. And kind of just tighten it as tight as you can get it with your bare hands. That's about it. Now, as far as whenever I was taking it off, you can use the adjustable oil filter wrench, or you can just buy one of the, I don't know how to describe it, like a band type that are pretty popular. The small size will fit this. Then here's me loosening the jacks, letting them down. The reason why there's two is because I didn't have any jack stands. It is definitely recommended that you do not do anything on a car underneath it while the car is being suspended by a jack alone. You want to use some type of safety equipment just in case the jack gives out. You do not want the car to fall on you, so it's best to use jack stands. Then here's me putting the oil into the car. You want to be careful not to overfill it. Then here's checking the oil for the first time after the initial pouring of the oil. Now you want to keep checking it as you add oil and add oil and add oil. Realistically, you want to try to have the oil in the middle of in between the two dots on the dipstick. You don't want it to be too full, because if you run the risk of overfilling it. If you overfill it, you can damage your engine. If it's too low, you can also damage your engine. So it's really important to add only as much as you need, and periodically check that dipstick as you add more oil. You want to land somewhere in between the two dots. Then here's me checking it after I started the car. It's important to check it again after you start the car, because after you start the car and run it for a few moments, you want to go back and check it, because will suck some oil out of the oil pan into the filter and into the rest of the engine, and this can send your oil level down lower. Well, it will send your oil level down lower, so then you have to add more until you're in that sweet spot in between the two dots again. Right there's me showing you where it is. You want to be in between those two dots on the dipstick. And then at this point, I am just checking for leaks, any kind of drips. You don't want any kind of drips. You can see a little bit of something on there, but that's from before. After you run it for a while, you want to check it again just to make sure that you don't have any leaks at the drain bolt or the oil filter. That is where it's going to leak. If it would leak, that's where it would leak at. If it's leaking from either, chances are they just need tightened. Well, I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.